Group 2, Art of Emerging Europe. History of Ancient Greece. It is believed that the first ancient Greek civilizations were formed nearly 4,000 years ago, approximately 1600 BC, by the mighty Mycenaeans of Crete, a Greek island. One popular form of Greek art was pottery. These are the most famous philosophers in the history. Socrates of Athens. He is known as the father of Western philosophy. The next is Plato. Plato is also considered the founder of Western political philosophy. The next one is Aristotle. Aristotle was Plato's best student. He went on to become the very well-paid tutor of Alexander the Great, probably the highest paid philosopher in history. Greeks worship many gods and goddesses, like Aphrodite, Apollo, Athena, Hermes, and Zeus.
Hey, Peter's my name. That means rock. Tough rock. You guys reminds me of my prime days. There was no evidence yet, but I think that last body of mine was made in classical period, as it is presenting a natural posture of a human being, giving more balance and stability compared to the archaic sculptures. Classical period, by the way, is considered as golden age of Greece, and architects at the time often used columns like Ionic and Doric columns to reconstruct temples and buildings destroyed by Persians. Following to the classical period is Hellenistic period. What makes it different to the previous one is that the sculptures created in this era are presenting more emotions and actions, making it more realistic compared to the classical period. This was also the time when Greeks opened their heart on making nude female sculptures like Aphrodite created by Praxiteles. And that's the end of my story.
Ancient Rome was a powerful and important civilization that ruled much of Europe for nearly 1,000 years. The culture of ancient Rome was spread throughout Europe during its rule. As a result, Rome's culture still has an impact in the Western world today. The basis for much of Western culture comes from ancient Rome, especially in the areas such as modern language, religion, society, architecture, law, politics, government, warfare, art, literature, technology, and engineering. The lifespan of ancient Rome can be divided into three major periods: the regal, the republican, and the imperial. During the regal period, Rome was monarchical and ruled by the seven kings. The Roman kingdom, also referred to as the Roman monarchy or the regal period of ancient Rome, was the earliest period of the Roman history, when the city and its territory were ruled by kings. Rome's first king, according to the legend, was a man named Romulus. He and Remus are mythological twin brother who founded the city of Rome. In 509 BC, Rome adopted a republican system of governance, in which the state was primarily ruled by two annually elected representatives called praetors, who are later called consuls. One of them became a famous general and dictator, Julius Caesar. The imperial period followed. It was characterized by the Roman Empire and notorious leaders such as Octavian, Rome's first emperor who ushered the era of peace and prosperity, and Nero, who some scholars believe was Rome's cruelest emperor.
Number 1. Fresco wall from the House of Livia. almost 2,000 years old Roman residence, the house is said to be the residence of Augustus' wife, Livia, a woman who was so powerful and influential in her time. House of Livia have some captivating and realistic walls painting, like exotic birds, plants, flowers, trees, the flora and fauna. Number 2. Column of Trajan. This monument column stands as a landmark in the city. This is one of the best preserved monuments of ancient Rome. There are in addition a total of 2,662 figures carved. Number 3. The Ark of Septimus Severus. The famous Ark of Septimus Severus was built to symbolize and signify Roman. Septimus had a triumphal arch put up to reflect the military conquest. Standing at almost 21 meters tall and with a wind in excess of 23 meters. This monumental arch was made of Proconnesian white marble from the Sea of Marmara. Number 4. House of the Veti, one of the most luxurious and famous residences in Pompeii back in the Roman era. The spectacular interior of this residence was preserved by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius somewhere around 79 AD. This place where roots lie in ancient Greek mythology. Almost all the walls are adorned with beautiful mosaics.
I'm Maria Christine Bunda from 2A Paris, and my report is Influence of Ancient Rome. Many aspects of today's society have been affected by ancient Rome. Here's I'm going to explain. Creation of law, influence in language, literature, and influence in religion. The first law code in Roman history was the Law of the 12 Tablets, the precursor to the development of Roman law. The idea of innocent until proven guilty, which underlies the United States criminal justice system, also came from ancient Rome ideas. Rome was responsible for the spread of the Latin language, which has formed the basis for Western language such as English. In fact, educators in our society teach Latin as a way of helping students better understand the English language. Many writers have been influenced by Roman, including Shakespeare, the Julius Caesar, Antony and Cleopatra, Robert Graves, the Eclodus, Milton, the Paradise Lost, Dante, the Inferno, and James, the Ulysses. Roman art has also influenced today's society. Roman Empire contributed to the spread of Christianity. In particular, it played a role between what would become Eastern and Western Christians, known today as Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholics.
The Middle Age or medieval times in Europe has a long period of history from 500 AD to 1500 AD. That 1000 years! It covers the time from the fall of the Roman Empire to the rise of the Ottoman Empire. This was a time of castles and peasants, guilds and monasteries, cathedrals, and crusades. Great leaders such as Joan of Arc and Charlemagne were part of the Middle Age, as well as major events such as the Black Plague and the rise of Islam. Interesting facts about daily life in the Middle Age is the bread eaten by people of the Middle Age was grainy from the milestone used to grind the grain. This caused the people's teeth to wear down quickly. Medicine was very primitive at the time. Sometimes doctors would bleed people by putting leeches on their skin. Marriage in Middle Age were often arranged, especially for nobles. Noble girls often married at 12 years old and boys at 14.
Artists of the Middle Ages. Number 1. Donatello was one of the greatest Italian Renaissance artists noted especially for his sculptures in marble, bronze, and wood. His sculpted figures were some of the first since antiquity to represent anatomy correctly, though some late works were slightly exaggerated and to suggest a sense of individuality. Number 2. Giotto was known for being the earliest artist to paint more realistic figures rather than the stylized artwork for the medieval and Byzantine eras. Giotto is considered by some scholars to be the most important Italian painter of the 14th century. Third one, Benvenuto, also called as Cimabue. The Italian artist from Florence was known for his paintings and mosaics. He was first recognized to be working as an artist in 1453 and continued his work nearly until his death in approximately 1518. During his lifetime, he was influenced by many various artists. In the late 1480s, Benvenuto's styles changed drastically. And lastly, Ambrogio Lorenzetti, an Italian painter of the Gothic movement. He is famous for his frescoes, the allegory of good government and the allegory of bad government.
Good morning everyone, my name is Vanjandre S. Cerezo from BSTM Paris 2.
What is Renaissance? Renaissance is considered to be a time of renewal and rebirth. The word of Renaissance, which actually French simply means rebirth. Renaissance art were paintings, sculptures, architecture, music, and literature made in 14th, 15th, and 16th centuries in Europe. Did you know Leonardo da Vinci? He's the ultimate Renaissance man, practiced all the visual arts and study a wide range of topics including anatomy, geology, botany, hydraulics, and flight. His formidable reputation is based on relatively few completed paintings including Mona Lisa, The Virgin of the Rock, and The Last Supper. Renaissance art is often divided up into two periods. First, Early Renaissance. Second, High Renaissance. Early Renaissance, 1400 and 1479. Artists learned by trying to emulate classical artists, focusing on symmetry and creating the perfect form. This area features such artists as Giotto, Masaccio, and Donatello. Next, High Renaissance, 1475 and 1525. A rising interest in perspective and space gave the art even more realism. Great artists such as Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and Raphael flourished during this period.
Renaissance art. Elements of Renaissance painting, linear perspective. In Giotto's fresco, the building is like a stage set with one side open to the viewer. In Paolo Uccello's fresco, the townscape gives an impression of depth. Russia's Holy Trinity was painted with carefully calculated mathematical proportions in which he was probably assisted by architect Brunelleschi. The Angelico uses the simple motif of a small loggia accurately drafted to create an intimate space. Landscape. Giotto uses a few rocks to give the impression of a mountain setting. Uccello has created a detailed and surreal setting as a stage for many small scenes. In Carpaccio's deposition of the body of Christ, the desolate rocky landscape echoes the tragedy of the scene. Gino has set the adoration of the Magi against the familiar hilly landscape of Umbria. Light. Deo Gaddi's Annunciation to the Shepherds is the first known large painting of a night scene. The internal light source of the picture is the angel. His agony in the garden, Giovanni Bellini uses the fading sunset of a cloudy evening to create an atmosphere of tension and impending tragedy. Filino Lippi uses chiaroscuro to model the face of the sitter and define the details of his simple garment. The light and shadow on the edge of the window define the angel of the light. In Leonardo da Vinci's John the Baptist, elements of the painting, including the corners of the model eyes and mouth, are disguised by shadow, creating an air of ambiguity and mystery.
Artwork of the Renaissance period. Cimabue, The Crucifix of Santa Cruz 1287. Giotto, The Crucifix of Santa Maria Novella. Masaccio, Crucifixion of Santa Maria del Carmen. Giovanni Bellini, The Deposition. Piero della Francesca, The Baptism of Christ. Verrocchio and Leonardo, The Baptism of Christ. Leonardo, Saint Jerome. Michelangelo, Adam. Giotto, The Resurrection. Andrea Castagno, Pippo Spano. Fra Filippo Lippi, The Madonna Trivulzio. Masaccio, Adam and Eve from the Branzacci Chapel. Antonello de Messina, Ecce Homo. Mantegna, The Dead Christ. Mantegna, Detail from the Circumcision of Christ. Giotto, The Kiss of Judas from the Scrovegni Chapel. Piero della Francesca, The Death of Adam from the Legend of the True Cross.
Thanks for watching.